Oh, I do not feel comfortable jumping on this thing yet. So I'm on the Range VLT and it's a large, and it's certainly a little bit big for me. Got Toddy in front on the site VLT, full of confidence. Just a bit, it's a bit big for me and cumbersome. Like my legs to hands distance. Oh, he's done it again. Oh, woo. Stitch up. Yeah, it's just too long for me to be confident on it. Like, something goes wrong, I'm too stretched to correct. So I kind of find myself tiptoeing a fair bit on this bike. Absolutely. If it was a medium, I could probably slay, or at least ride a fair bit better. But it's large and I'm certainly not in charge. Got a C1 Lyric high, he's going straight lining. Yeah! Can't say I really fucked with this line. Oh, definitely don't want to tiptoe, that's for sure. Oh. Coming to stuff like that, I'm just not confident because of my length here. Like I'm stretched out. Kind of scared, I guess. It's like that feeling of riding scared without having anything to really be scared of, except for not being able to pull it up when it gets out of shape. Where's he going here? Oh. Check this thing out. So 2020 NORCO Range C1 VLT, NORCO Range VLT C1. Big dog e-bike, 630 watt hour battery, Shimano E8000 motor, so the older Shimano, and it's killer. That motor's just trickles along. Love the power, love the settings. Got a fair bit of K's out of it. The laps I've done, so I've done 2 full battery rides and 1 more of just messing around solo, a few laps. It's too big for me. It's a large. So 480 reach, 1263 wheelbase. Tried to get along with it, tried to change the cockpit up a little bit, but I'm not, my weight isn't on my feet when I'm spread, when I'm kind of dancing through the more technical, more consequential parts of the trail. So I was at Eagle today, and I rode some secret trails, or lesser known trails, on the weekend. I won't go into where they are or whatever, try not to blow the spot up too much, but good. I made sense of it. It was good on the steep stuff. The suspension platform, I'm running a 350 RockShox spring, and that's giving me about 33% sag, and there's not a lot of bottom out support. There is enough there, but there's not a lot of bottom out support there. So if I hit something fast, it clunks, like it'll touch the bottom, but otherwise when I'm charging through stuff, it doesn't blow through the travel like that. And I think maybe it's got something to do with the Super Deluxe. So I've heard in conversations from multiple different people that the Super Deluxe comes from the factory with, it's like a hand tight where the IFP pressure, where you add your pressure for the IFP, and it leaks out and drops. So that might have something to do with the internal floating piston pressure being low. I haven't been taken to the shop to get it checked, so I'm not 100% sure, but maybe that's got something to do with it. It's likely there's no high-speed compression, but tunability on the low speed, for sure. It's definitely noticeable tunability, but maybe that's it. But outside of that, it was good. It's fairly smooth. It's not an overly smooth back end. It's not like the Marin Alpine Trail, the e-bike, the Marin E2. That thing is just, that's so good. That bike is killer. That bike is absolutely killer. This thing kind of feels like that, but too big. It's got the same kind of geo feeling, the same low, standover with it. Even though it's a large, I had plenty of standover room over the seat and whatnot. So it had that feeling, but too big. So I think if it was a smaller bike, I could make more sense of it. Still, that little bit of bottoming out. I reckon I bottomed out 3 times the whole time I rode it. So out of maybe 13 laps, I would have bottomed it out 3 or 4 times. So still good, still killer. The fork is a Lyric C1 spring, 180mm travel, 63.5 head angle. So really confidence inspiring geo numbers, 77.5 on the seat angle. But this Lyric, I ran a spacer. I started at like 90 psi. That's what felt good bouncing around, and when I got out on the trail, it was not good. It was darting off everything, no composure, no compliance. So about down. Ended up at 72, 73 psi with the 1 token and a little bit of compression. So I believe I'm on 6 clicks of low speed, and I've got that high speed open. I did close the high speed at the start, but it's just very, very resistant. So if I was to run that any more high speed, I'd have to run the spring another 4 or 5 psi lower, and then fill that up with high speed. That would make it more stable for sure, but I'm not sure that's the direction I wanted to go in. So I can't really give you a super accurate review of this bike. The wheels are okay. The DT Swiss hybrids, they seem alright. He's got a dent in the back. I put the Tannis tyre armour in there actually in the back to protect his rim and protect that tyre a little bit. And I didn't cut anything, I didn't damage anything, no dents to the rim, didn't really take any hits, so that's fine. The Tannis tyre armour is a little bit, I think it makes you feel more in the back. I think it's just too firm of a foam, and maybe you feel more, like it amplifies the feelings, whereas the Cush Core kind of doesn't do that. But better than nothing, for sure better than nothing. It doesn't come with the bike, I just put it in to protect. The motor, killer. I love the motor. GX, SRAM, derailleur, same story. The clutch starts to mess out on them things, so the clutch isn't great on that, but it's still functional, which is nice. The bike yoke revive dropper, that was good. I assume you can pump them up to make them faster because it's quite slow, but other than that, it was fine. The lever was fine. Code RSC brakes were good until I burned them. So I burned them on a descent. It's a super steep descent. It's only a couple of minutes, but yeah, for me, I was on the brake the whole time. Not overly confident on the bike. Definitely, I suppose that's what I'll talk about as well. The bigger bike. Before I get to the bike, I'll talk about those brakes. So I think I burned the back brake pads and probably the front ones a little bit as well. I believe they're probably sintered. I don't know. I didn't check. They might be the organics, but once they overheat, they're never the same again. They're never quite the same again, these SRAM pads. I've got the Gaufers in my bike. They feel quite good. Not as much all-out power as a new SRAM pad, but they don't seem to be burning out. Like, they don't seem to be overheating and then losing their bite. So lots of good initial bite on the green, and then the red out the back is even better. The red is actually really good, but I think I've probably blown through half a set already. So, but anyway, the big bike going down steep or going down anything, it was just I'm stretched out on it. Didn't feel confidence inspiring. So we're hitting the jumps at Eagle today, and usually I don't have too much trouble with jumps, but I just could not get the confidence in my head to be able to just let it go and you know, play with it and be the pilot of it. Because my feet versus I guess the way I could describe it is, you know, when you're on a bike, you want to be, you know, you could almost take your hands off the bars and still be hovering in that position. On this, when we're getting into it, I'm like almost all the weight's on the toes, like I'm leaning on the bar to keep, because I'm so spread out. So bar's quite high, it's at about 1085. So that does help, you know, bring the reach back a little bit, but I top out at about 470 reach. There's a 480, 1263 wheelbase, 174 centimeters tall. I definitely top out at about I think my perfect bike is 455 to 470. And I think my perfect wheelbase is 1220 to 1240. So that's like optimal for moving around, charging, still heaps of confidence. So it was just simply too big for me. Just simply too big. So I would have loved to send it and have more fun on it, but it's very large. 24 kilos as it stands right now, with Exo Plus on the front, Assegai Max Terra, and a DHF Exo Plus Max Terra on the back. 27 front and rear. Tannis tyre armour in the back, just the tubeless one, so not very heavy. It's like 100 grams or something. 165 cranks, Sandhill Enduro pedals. They're good. I think the more I spend time on other pedals that I used to really love, and you know, my top kind of choices, I'm really, really loving these Tag Metals pedals. The nylon pedal is just killer. I haven't broken one yet. They're light enough. The bearings are still killer on my Trek. I've had those on there for a long time. New set on my Rune, and they're really, really good. So I guess what I'm getting at is I couldn't really test this bike to its potential because it's too big for me. And you should be aware of and pay attention to size of bikes. You can't just, yeah, it's too big, but I'll grow into it. I don't know, maybe I would get used to it. Maybe I could get used to it after time, but I couldn't find my confidence. Even today, today I'd spent enough time on it to be able to send it, but just restricted because I'm too long. So when you know, for instance, if you're going up a lip of a jump and you get a little bit bucky, you've got to stretch out, you've got to bring your weight back. I'm already stretched out, so I can't bring my weight back. So I'm just going to be dead sailor until I nose wheelie it into the ground. So that stopped me from pulling the trigger and made me feel like I was unco jumping. So too big is definitely restrictive. I find it harder to ride a bike that's too big for me than to ride a bike that's too small. Too small, I can do it. I can get used to it, get familiar, and then have a pretty good send and some good fun until it gets really fast. The real high speed on a smaller bike, maybe not as simple, but still easier to hang on to for sure than a big bike. But yeah, so to the owner of this bike, thank you very much, man. You're a legend. Let me borrow your bike. Let me thrash it. Let me send it, you know, down a few different trails, and I appreciate it. This has been fun, and yeah, shame I couldn't give it a better review. I'm sure it's a killer bike. Like I said, could do with a little bit more shape on the end of its spring curve at the rear, I think. Otherwise, Geo's good. That suspension's certainly not limited. It's certainly not limited. I think you could send it through everything. Like I said, maybe something to do with the IFP pressure in that shock. Not sure. Probably would have been a good idea to chuck the Katsuma on there. Now that I've got that and see how that goes. But yeah, is what it is. Doesn't matter. Thanks again. And if you got one, I'm sure you love it. They're killer.